Right, guys, I think we'll get started then. So, firstly, thank you for all coming and visiting us at the Spotlight events in the last couple of weeks. We've got Port Sunlight and Kingston lined up to do after the new year, which will be good. We have plenty of engagement and sort of, a lot of you hadn't have heard about Enactus before, so it's a really good opportunity to get involved. I'll pass you over to Andy, who actually works for Enactus UK. I'll let him introduce himself, and he'll be leading today's session. So I'll pass you on to Andy.
Thank you very much, Jake. Again, just want to echo what Jake said. Thanks very much for taking the time out to obviously to attend this webinar, and I hope it'll be useful for you to kind of get a bit more of an knowledge of what Enactus is and basically the different ways that you can get involved. So we had a question earlier about all the different elements, so I will be talking about judging as well, and we can talk about the individual topic competition that Unilever run with Enactus UK. But this will be kind of focused a bit more on the kind of what is the business advisor role, what is the program, and kind of what can you get involved in. So again, thanks for taking the time out. So my name's Andrew Houghton, so I'm the engagement manager for Enactus UK. So what I do is I manage the day-to-day relationship between all of our corporate partners and Enactus, so Unilever being one of them. So I work really closely with Jake, Olivia and Anna. Really just looking at how we can maximise the relationships and partnerships that we have, and giving basically the company access to our students and give them access to kind of the volunteering opportunities that you can get involved in. So again, thanks for having me on the call today. So what I'm going to go over is a bit more about the program, what Enactus is, where we stand in terms of why we believe so much in social enterprise, and a bit just of the general stats. Then I'll go through a bit more about some example Enactus projects that we have in the UK and the criterion. So the criterion we have is all the way around the world, so that every country that have an Enactus program kind of follows this criterion, and this is kind of what we use to judge our teams on at competitions. So it's good for you to know, and also if you want to do judging later on in the year, then this is kind of what you should be familiar with, and everything. I'll talk then about the competitions, so what is regionals, what's national competition, and the World Cup. So these are the opportunities you can get involved in as judging, and then we'll talk about actually what is the business advisor role and what kind of other volunteering opportunities you can get involved. Obviously during the webinar, if anyone has any questions please feel free to ask them. I'm more than happy to. There's no such thing as a silly question. Yeah, so I'll crack on. So I'll go through the program to start with. So Enactus is a worldwide organisation, so we're based in 36 countries, the UK being one of the bigger programs in the world, but it was started in 1975 in the USA, formerly known as SIFE, which meant Students in Free Enterprise, but it got rebranded to Enactus in 2012 to kind of show a bit of our message, a bit more of what we do. So the EN stands for entrepreneurial, the ACT means the action, so teams doing projects or students creating projects to help people less fortunate ourselves, and us is like the network. So we are a network of students, business volunteers and advisors from industry, but also university academic experts as well, that all work together. So in the UK specifically, we have 58 universities that we work in all over the UK. So quite a lot of them are in London, but we have in Scotland, Northern Ireland and Wales. We have now over around 2,700 students involved in the programme, so that ranges from first years, freshers that have come into the universities and just started up, to maybe people doing in their final year, maybe about to graduate or doing masters. Last year we had some really great impact last year, so with all the projects that our teams are doing, we impacted over 7,000 people last year. So if you do a kind of ratio against the number of students, it means that every student involved in the program at least kind of impacted 2 to 3 people individually, which is obviously great to see. And as I said, we're a worldwide organisation, and it's something that we kind of value really highly. So we work really closely with a lot of the different countries and share best practice, share knowledge, and And at kind of like worldwide events like the World Cup, which I'll talk about later, this is kind of like our big network forum for sharing best practice. And in terms of the program annually, like around the world, we impact over 1 million people every single year and have over 72,000 students in the program, which is obviously amazing. And obviously there's still room for improvement, and we always try and get more students in every single year, but it's really positive. So this is kind of the breakdown of how an Enactus program is kind of established on campus, really, and how it goes about. So firstly, if for an Enactus team, they need to kind of establish a student base on campus, and also a designated university advisor. So someone working at the university, which is like a champion, which helps them out with anything to do with maybe recruitment, getting students in, to maybe helping with their projects. So that's kind of the first stage. At Enactus UK, we provide training opportunities and events, which obviously allow students to get to know what Enactus is, and also give them real practical advice and help to create projects in local international communities, tackling a range of different needs. So I think overall this year we've done over 50 events already, which is great, and we've definitely got more planned in the new year. But what we do is we provide a platform for them to kind of share best practice between each other, the students, but also just get industry experts in to help them out, really develop these ideas and get them to the stage where they are making impact in people's lives. So then obviously when we provide the training and they've got some really great ideas, they start implementing their ideas in either the communities locally or internationally. In Enactus UK specific, we have around 25% of our projects being international, so they actually work in a foreign country and really impact people's lives in that sense, whereas majority of our projects, 75% of them, are local projects. So they'll be running projects in the proximity of their universities, really tackling such needs as maybe food waste, homelessness, youth unemployment. There is a real range there, and that's what I think is really exciting about our program, is that every team really does tackle the needs for that specific community. So every project is very, very different in its unique way. And then at the kind of the end of the year, so our Enactus year is April to April. So in April we have our big national competition where we invite all of our teams to London to basically present their projects and what they've done over the year to a panel of judges, to a range of judges, where we then crown a national champion. As I said, we're in 36 countries worldwide, so every country will have their own national champion, and then all of the national champions will then go to kind of compete at the World Cup. So some of you might have already come, but it was held in London this year, the World Cup for Enactus. So that was a really great opportunity for us to kind of host it and really see some of the great work that all the other countries in the world are doing. So that's fine. Kind of Enactus is obviously private sector. We're completely private sector funded, so we're a social enterprise in our right and charity, but we are kind of sponsored by our corporate partners. So obviously I just wanted to highlight some of the corporate partners we have here. Every corporate partner kind of joins Enactus for very different reasons. It could just be solely for recruitment, so actually getting access to our students, because we know they are quite employable. They definitely show skills and competencies over the time they were with Enactus that employers love. It could be on a CSR element. It could be actually aligning with some really great community work that our students are doing, and alternatively it could be just solely they actually just want to really be involved in the projects and really just give their business volunteers some really great experiences and kind of development opportunities to work with our students. We're always growing our sponsor base, so we've had some new sponsors join this year, like Jellyfish, Diageo, and Kelly OCG, and we're always kind of building our base. But we've had a really great long-standing relationship with Unilever for many years, and we obviously really value support that they give us. And obviously, hopefully, you won't get too bored of me in this webinar. Hopefully, that will have your support in terms of helping our teams and supporting them moving forward. So again, just want to go through a bit more about why kind of companies engage with Enactus. So it ranges from maybe just general branding and awareness, could be the networking opportunities through our events. But yeah, I've kind of just talked about many of them already, so we'll skip that slide. So one of the main things we kind of always try and brag about is why students get involved in themselves. So I was a Loughborough student, so I graduated in July 2016, and I was involved with Enactus for 3.5 years as a student, and kind of some of the kind of real key things why I joined Enactus are in this list here. So for me, I wanted to kind of develop my own range of skills. I also wanted to kind of really have a positive difference in the world. But there's students that kind of really join for many different ways. It could be solely for the employability element, wanting to kind of network with our partner companies, network with maybe Unilever employees. But there is a range of reasons there. But everyone has a very unique experience as a student in Enactus, and it's very, very different for every single student. And that's why that's the beauty of Enactus. No person has the same experience. It's very much tailored to what they want and what the students want. For us, we have obviously we survey our students very regularly in terms of what they think they develop for Enactus, and this was actually done last year, but we've got this is kind of more updated now. So we just really talk to the students and say, actually, what skills do you think you develop over the time that you're with Enactus? And obviously, I'm not going to go through them individually here, but you can see on the slide actually. People management teamwork's number one, which actually I think is very, very true. Working with different individuals, different personalities in the team or the project teams that they're working in, and also generic teamwork, getting stuff done, getting projects off the ground and implementing them. We also have some really good like employment statistics. So what we've said, this is kind of like surveying quite a lot of our partners, and actually for a student that's not part of Enactus applying for our partner companies, the kind of application to hire ratio for them is around 7 to 9%. So in essence, if they put 10 applications in, they may get 1 offer. Whereas with some of our corporate partners, and what we've seen the ranges is that for Enactus students with our partners, there's a 45 to 85% application to hire ratio, which is phenomenal, which is great to see. Which means obviously if they're applying for our partner companies, more often than not, they will get offers and potentially work for our partners, and we've had some really great traction in the last few years to do that. And this probably is useful for you if you obviously want to become a business advisor and work with our teams. And this will be shared with you after the webinar, so you can have this. But these are the universities that we have in the program currently. So we have some new ones this year. So we've got the Coventry University London campus join us this year, De Montfort and Huddersfield, with South Bank kind of joining us in the next few months. But yeah, as I said, we're all over the UK. We have a different kind of scope in terms of every different region, and yeah, so this will obviously be shared. So I'll talk about the process if you want to become a business advisor a bit later on, but in essence it'll be worth you having a look at this list and seeing actually this is a university I potentially want to support, and then I'll do the introductions for you. So that's very, very simple. As you can see, this is kind of just a little statistics about what kind of partners our students are interested in. So I said we survey our students every single year, and actually we can see that Unilever are the top company that people want to work really interested in, which is obviously great to see. With some obviously big partners there, Unilever is recognised as kind of like the one that students want to liaise with and want to network with. So you're already in a great position being a Unilever employee because students really want to work with you. So that's the kind of program element. So I just wanted to maybe just have a quick 1 minute if anyone has any questions about the program that they wanted to bring up. So if not, I'll carry on.
So I've got a question. I don't know if you're going to come to this in a moment. So if we were engaging as part of a support team with a particular student group on a project, what's the typical duration of a relationship with those students, with those projects? How does that look in practice?
Yeah, so it really does range. So what we normally see is that for an Enactus project to maybe get established and really make an impact, we normally go on maybe a 1 to 2 year basis to actually for them to go from idea all the way to kind of implementation, having impact. Really, it ranges. We've had projects in our portfolio with teams that have been established and running for 5 or 6 years where they just carry it on and they're getting some really good traction on there. But the ultimate aim of an Enactus project is to kind of establish a really great idea and work with beneficiaries, whether that being people with homelessness, people less fortunate ourselves, and ultimately actually give them the skills and knowledge for them to take the projects on themselves and actually transfer them and empower individuals. So what you could see is that you might have a relationship for 3 years on a particular project, but actually it could be a team year on year is maybe changing their portfolio and got new projects on the horizon. So it really does range in terms of how long you work with a team on a particular project. But the relationship for you with them particular students, you'll be working with probably different students, maybe different students every single year. They won't be exactly the same because people graduate and everything like that, but you will be you could have a relationship for many years to come. We've had business advisors that have worked with teams for 8 to 10 years, the same team every single year, but it's just different students.
Yeah, understand. And presumably the ways of working with those teams will differ based on people's activity. So you might go and physically sit down and meet with them a couple of times, and then, you know, they'll give you a buzz if they've got a question and need ad hoc support and different things like that. So it's kind of fairly fluid in terms of the engagement.
Yeah, exactly. It could be, you could have kind of physical face-to-face meetings, which is obviously probably the best, but we have some great business advisor relationships where it's just completely virtual. So it could just be through emails or having Skype calls. And again, every team is different. Every team has different needs and kind of support needs. So yeah, it's very, very flexible and fluid. And one of the things I just want to stress at this point is, in terms of the commitment as a business advisor, it really is down to you. We don't say that you need to do 4 hours a week with a team or a certain amount of hours per month. It really is at your discretion and kind of how the activity is working with that particular team. So yeah.
Okay, thanks.
No worries. Any more?
I just had another question.
Yeah.
This was regarding, so is this program specifically only for, projects, or could there be a requirement of, perhaps the students need some sort of personal development advices, or probably something to do with the career? So
yeah,
such questions or supports be required?
Yeah, of course, yes. So actually we, as a business advisor, what you can do is actually just become a personal mentor. So you can actually just work with an individual student and actually personally mentor them yourself. You have that opportunity to do that. We always have an employability arm. So obviously we work with our corporate partners and to see actually can we give more employability opportunities. So that might be CV workshops, cover letter working, or just maybe interview practice. So we always have them opportunities. So yeah, ultimately the Enactus program is the projects, which obviously is great, but we also have that employability arm as well, and also you get the opportunity potentially if you want to become a individual personal mentor. So they get that mentoring opportunity for yourself as a mentor, but also the mentee gets that professional development experience as well.
So are there examples with the projects? So I'm assuming in amongst all the projects that are undertaken, there are some that have a lot of potential to be scaled and become a much bigger initiative and taken on board by maybe a different organization or a different non-for-profit type scenario. And there's some that just fizzle and unfortunately don't achieve what they aim for. So are there examples where that something's sort of been taken to the next level? Students have done their bit, but actually then there's a model that can be adopted in a much wider scope by WaterAid or Oxfam or whatever it might be.
Yeah, so all of our projects have to have an accredited project partner as part of their project. So they will work with either an NGO or a charity or just an organisation. Will give them either infrastructure or just help with their project. So every project that goes through the Enactus program will have an established project partner. So what we have seen, I can give you an example of a project that I worked on at university where we created kind of a food waste project where it was kind of like a social cafe where we worked with a local organisation or a local village hall, community hall called Fearing Hall. And what we did, we established a really simple idea where we take food waste from simple supermarkets and create kind of a social cafe for the local community. So take food that was after its best before date. It'll actually be in the project stories later on, but I'll talk about it now. And we established a really simple idea which actually replicated into a really great scaled model. And what we did, we now actually the hall now runs that kind of full time by themselves. So we kind of step back, and that's kind of then been scaled by the hall and then gone into different areas. And the team are actually now working in different areas in around Loughborough, my university, to actually replicate this model after that. So there is definitely scope to scale. We've seen students actually take the idea on out of Enactus. So one of our really famous alumni, Sherry White, created a really simple idea called Think for the Future, which created really innovative PSHE lessons, working with individuals that have been obviously either been in jail or had run-ins with the law. And that idea got so big that she actually took that, and she's now managing director of that idea, and now it's an established business. So we have some traction there.
Mm-hmm. Cool.
Okay, so I'll crack on because I'm conscious of time. So I'll try and rattle through this because I know everyone's time is quite precious. So we'll move on. So we'll talk about a bit here about what the Enactus criterion is, and kind of some examples of Enactus projects and kind of the stages an Enactus project goes through, so you can obviously see that process. So kind of one of the main reasons why we have a criterion is because it just promotes consistency throughout the worldwide program. So where everyone has the same they're singing from the same sheet, and the same kind of wording to make sure that their projects are meeting that particular criteria. And obviously during competition, it's then used as the kind of judging criteria for the projects. So it really just builds that framework. So it's a bit of a mouthful, so I'll go through the criteria now. So which Enactus team most effectively used entrepreneurial action to empower people to improve their livelihoods in an economically, socially and environmentally sustainable way? So it is a mouthful, but what it essentially is that there's three key elements, which is entrepreneurial action, the empowerment of people, and that kind of economically, socially, environmentally sustainable way. So let me just look at the next thing. So the kind of entrepreneurial action is really the idea. So have they kind of done their needs and wants assessment? So have they researched the area that they're working in or they want to work in, really establish the needs and wants of that community or of them individuals that they're working with? And have they created a project which actually is either innovative, doesn't have to be fully innovative, but really have they created a project or used entrepreneurial action to really meet that need or meet that want? So that's kind of what we say is the entrepreneurial action bit. The empowerment is really what has been the impact in the people that you've been working with. So it could be, I'll give you a simple example. So let's say you're running a really simple employability project with individuals in your local community that have been struggling to get jobs for the last year. So let's say that they're either on benefits or they're trying to get work. Really, the impact, the empowerment would come from actually giving them the skills, knowledge and experience for them to either improve their CV, improve the employability skills, employ their interview skills, for example. And the empowerment and the impact would be for actually going through this process that you've been working with them with, have they then got a job after that? So that's the impact. And what we kind of say to teams is that you need to be able to track your impact and actually what has been the impact in that individual or that group or that community through your project or through your entrepreneurial action. Empowerment can be very, very different ways. It could be obviously getting employment. It could be, let's say, a refugee has passed the English test and actually got migrant status in the UK to work. There's very, very different examples, and I said every project is very, very different in very different ways and works with different individuals. And then really, what we talk about that in economically, socially, environmentally sustainable way, it's all about sustainability. So has the project kind of got a really kind of sound monetary system? Has it got enough funds for it to be sustainable and not obviously die out? Is it kind of really sustainable that it can last for multiple years and carry on for many years to come? The environmental is obviously just being really conscious of the environmental impact that you're having. Are you using really useful means? Could it be embedding technology so you're not using paper, or are you reducing transport costs in your projects? Really elements like that. Or you could have projects which is solely on an environmental aspect, and we have many of that. And then the social, really what has kind of like your project really done on the social element? Has it improved people's confidence? Has it improved people's kind of integration skills into their community. There's many different examples there, but the really key element is the entrepreneur action. Have you done your research, and have you created a project which is meeting the needs and wants of that community? Have you impacted people, and how do you track that? And is your project sustainable? In Enactus, really the key thing we like to say is I believe we're different to charity, because charities obviously give a handout, whereas we give a hand up. So we give people the experience, knowledge and expertise for them to obviously then to use that to improve their own lives. So that's kind of the Enactus criterion. This is just a really simple graphic. So Enactus really believes in the kind of hopefully, well, Unilever are very part of this as well, the Sustainable Development Goals, and Enactus worldwide are kind of obviously really bought into this, and we always try and create projects that meet these goals. So this just gives you a really simple graphic of the projects that actually met these goals last year, and we anticipate this to be obviously more this year, which is great. So
just another question in terms of kind of mapping an advisor to a project. So I guess there's a couple of ways that you're either assigned to a university, or you say this is a university, and then whatever comes out of that university, you might support one or more than one of those projects.
Yeah.
And then there might be a flip side to that, where there's a particular area that, as an advisor, you're passionate about, and if there's a project that is directly relating to that area, you could then support that, even if it may or may not be in the geography that you are supporting. So say, for instance, there's one that comes up that's going to help with human trafficking.
Yeah.
And you go, that is an area I really want to get involved in.
Absolutely, absolutely. So you might be related to a university, and if you see some projects that you're really interested in from another university, absolutely fine. Or if there's something that's going on, there is no bounds to what you can do, and if there's something you're really passionate about, absolutely fine. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
So that's fine. So obviously now just to go over kind of some simple projects. So I've talked about Utilise Loughborough. This is the kind of project that I was part of. So we'll skip this one, so I don't want to just keep repeating myself. So this is an example of a project from Bristol, which is called Vestability. So what we kind of see here is this is a really unique idea where students really saw a need in Madagascar, in the coastal communities, that they just had, the fishermen really didn't have the kind of structure to make sure the health and safety was really, really paramount. So their boats would either capsize, break, and there would be really obviously adverse risk to drowning in that kind of sea environment. So what they did, they really saw a need in that community, talked to the communities they are working in, and found that they could make some really useful buoyancy vests from discarded materials, really. So having that environmental impact by taking waste plastic and making a really simple buoyancy vest, which is really, really affordable, so that the fishermen have the legitimate kind of health and safety that they have, they need to obviously fish effectively. And what they did, they obviously employed individuals to market and sell these buoyancy vests to local communities. So obviously having that monetary aspect was then having an impact on these fishermen to give them more of a revenue stream. So you can see that they've done their research, and this is what kind of a project goes through. So if they didn't do this research, they might not have seen this opportunity that actually they could have created these upcycled buoyancy vests, and they're taking actions actually creating this and getting this up and running and working in that community. It's had really, really great impact, and it continues to do so in the Enactus programme. I'll go through just kind of another one which is more of a local project. So Motion, which is from the University of Sheffield. This actually recently won £25,000 from Ford to kind of scale and get to a stage where it's working in multiple areas. So what it really is that they, again, really good research the team did in terms of the NHS funding's been cut for obviously many different reasons, maybe due to government, maybe due to other external factors. But what they saw was actually for the older community in Sheffield specifically and over the UK, like them falling and kind of hurting themselves is actually costing the kind of NHS over 4.5 million per day. So because obviously with elderly, if they fall, obviously that could cause more serious injuries. So what they did, they really just saw an opportunity where they could work with individuals in care homes and elderly individuals, and created a really simple exercise exercise plan where it's just them sitting. It's called motion, so they sit in kind of their seats, the individuals or the elderly individuals, and just do really simple kind of movement motions to increase their flexibility, increase their mobility, and also just increase their overall health and well-being. So what they do is the students and volunteers go into care homes and run these sessions around 30 minutes per time, and work in numerous care homes now around Sheffield. But this project is a really simple idea, but has a lot of great impact, not just physically but also mentally and emotionally for these individuals. So this project is now scaling into, I think, 30 new care homes this year, because they've just got a massive amount of funding. So really simple idea, but has some really great impact. And these are the kind of ideas that students have come up with. It sometimes blows my mind that students come up with these awesome ideas which just has a really great impact. So that's just a couple of examples, but this is kind of a really simple project model which goes through basically the stages that an Enactus project kind of goes through. So you'll, as a business advisor or a mentor, someone helping in the team, you may be helping at every single stage here. So you go through teams go through the first bit, which is kind of like the conceptual phase. So this is where you're obviously researching, doing your needs and wants assessment with potential beneficiaries, and working and finding really what are the needs and wants in your community. So that's the kind of conceptual phase, thinking of that, and then maybe thinking of some really simple ideas to tackle that need. The feasibility and development is where the ideas kind of start becoming live or whatever you like to call it, so I couldn't get the word out there. So they start obviously thinking about, actually, is this project feasible? Is this project going to work? Maybe do a business canvas model to see actually who are our clients, who are our customers, what's our value proposition, everything like that. So talking about more about the feasibility and sustainability of the project. Is this project going to work? And then if they're obviously happy with this project and they've created an idea and they think it's going to work, they then go into the launch phase. So they'll start implementing the project, start working with the beneficiaries or working with individuals or community groups, and start kind of reviewing the process. So actually, is this project working in real life? Are they measuring and tracking the impact that they're working in? And to be fair, what we see is actually they might start implementing and think, actually, this project needs to be improved. So they might go back to the feasibility and development phase. So at any point, a project could go back and forth in this kind of project model. And obviously, if they see the project going really well, and actually it's having some great impact, the idea is then, obviously, for Enactus students and university students, they're only there for a limited amount of time. So they obviously may not obviously be involved in the project throughout its whole infancy, but if they obviously see that it's an opportunity where they could step back and the project still run by itself, by the beneficiaries, either by the project partner, they'll then think of an exit strategy or try and expand the project into different areas and maybe create a new idea as such. So you'll be obviously involved in every single element of this kind of scale as a business advisor, and you may have different skills that may help at different stages. So you might be really good at maybe thinking about a think tank, or you might be good at just project ideation, or you might be good at really tracking tracking progress and actually reviewing stuff. So this is kind of like a really just simple diagram we use to help teams think about what do you need to do first, and then what do you do while the project's moving. So that's the kind of projects and the criterion. Any kind of questions around that at the moment, or am I happy to kind of go on to more about the competition?
So are the students given some standard templates to follow in those initial phases when it comes to defining the idea, kind of putting together a business case, branding, whatever that might be? Are there kind of initial frameworks that they're given to work with?
Yeah, so we have our Enactus UK Resource Centre, which has some really great templates. So we have like a needs and wants assessment template the teams can use, business model canvases. Yeah, so we have the kind of standard templates and resources that they can use. But really what we see is that the students kind of do it themselves, but we obviously give them the templates, the training and the knowledge to do so.
Okay.
So yeah, I'll move on to the competition now. So this is obviously another element which you can get involved in. So if you're a business advisor working with teams, you can also become a judge at our competitions. So we have a competition really simple because we obviously want a platform for kind of teams to share their best practice, really see, because obviously they're working in their universities, they may not see necessarily what everyone's doing in different areas of the country, so they can kind of support each other and really see some of the great work that we're doing in the UK and other teams are doing. It could be a focus for the year, so teams could be very competition focused and want to do well at competition and showcase their projects, and that could be a driver for them to obviously move their projects forward at a really kind of advanced rate for that year. And obviously competition brings the best out of people, and we always try to give them that kind of platform to do so. So this is the kind of judging sheet we use. So as a judge, this is the kind of judging sheet you'll use to kind of evaluate the team's presentations. So during the competition, a university team will have 17 minutes. I know it's a very specific number, but they have 17 minutes to run a presentation on their projects that they've been doing over the years. So they're very strict on time, and they're kind of just basically showcasing these three different elements, which you said: seeing opportunities, this is the needs assessment, which I mentioned earlier, the taking action, the entrepreneurial action element, and the kind of then enabling progress. So this is measuring the impact, measuring the social impact, and the empowerment element. So basically, as a judge, you'll then kind of mark the teams on from insufficient to excellent on these criteria. And yeah, that's what every team is judged on the same criteria. That's why we have it. So we kind of have a competition process. So before our kind of massive competition, which is called the national competition, we have regionals. So between the kind of March 5th to 16th, we have next year, we have obviously regionals happening in different areas of the country. So we go from all the way from Glasgow all the way down to London and everything and everywhere in between. So we have designated teams presenting at different regional competitions, and this is an opportunity where you can get involved and actually attend these regional competitions and judge presentations. At regionals, it's a lot more lenient in terms of timing. So if the team is over 17 minutes on their presentation, that's absolutely fine. But the teams actually get more of a feedback and question and answer kind of period here. So this is where you can give really good tangible feedback on their projects, so that they can obviously adapt or and kind of take to the next level before the actual nationals. So that's a really great opportunity. So I believe Rosie, my colleague, has shared with the sponsor champions for each company the regional dates now. But what I'll be doing is over the next kind of week or so, I'll be sending emails to most of our Unilever kind of business advisors, but hopefully Jake will share kind of like all the information and dates with you. So yes, that's the regional competition, and then we have obviously our big national competition in April. So this is where the teams that have got through, so not every team will present at national competition in the competition, because they have to get through regionals first. So some teams that may not have as much impact may not necessarily get through to the nationals. And kind of the competition process for the national competition is that on the 9th we have our opening round. So we have 32 teams out of the 58 that will present in the competition in 8 different leagues of 4. And then obviously the teams will present, and then obviously as you judge, teams will then be whittled down to 16 teams. So there'll be 2 teams from each league that will go through, and then there'll be kind of 4 leagues of 4 in the semi-final, where then 1 team from them leagues will then go through to our final round, and then ultimately we'll then crown our national champion. So again, the national champion will be our representative from the UK that will go to the World Cup in September 2018 or October, and present actually in Silicon Valley this year, which is very exciting, going to California, and that's where the World Cup's being held.
So is there, just to understand, because I'm just not understanding why, if you come second in your opening round, why you would then go to the next round, because whoever came first would beat you in the next round as well anyway, and you'd never make it to the final round. So what changes between round 1 and 2? So
it's all done on a draw. So you might not necessarily be in the league that you were in that first one. So it could be very random in terms of the leagues that you're so for the they don't know who comes second or first. So for the teams that are presenting, they won't know if they've come second or first in their league. It will just be the 2 teams from that particular league will go through. So they wouldn't know that. So very much it's a level playing field. We've seen teams in the past that may not have actually won their group from our perspective in the opening round actually get through to the final. So it's very much a level playing field there. So the volunteering opportunity. So this is kind of like more the business advisor stuff. So the role in general. So a business advisor and kind of what they are, what you are as essentially is an expert that will help the teams to grow their projects, to grow their team, and really give them that tangible support they need throughout the year. The advisor role can be kind of split into 4 different elements, which I kind of sense as project development. So you're helping specific projects get to the next level, giving them maybe access to your network, access to your expertise, to really just help them projects grow and really get that. The second kind of one is more team sustainability. So you might actually just work with a team as a general mentor. So it could be elements like you're helping with their recruitment, so getting members into society. It could be you're helping them with marketing and finance to make obviously the teams more sustainable. Every Enactus team will have like a commercial project where they try and obviously raise money for their teams to have enough funds to run these projects. Obviously running a project is not free. You've got to have funds behind you to do that. And then there could be that kind of team training, so you come and help them in particular elements, or you could give them that professional and personal development. So obviously a question earlier is you could actually just work with them and help them obviously improve their employability, improve their kind of general awareness of companies. And ultimately, if you're working with business as a business advisor, you can kind of obviously work with them particular students. And if there's obviously ones that you have a relationship with or you actually work really well with, ultimately it could be an opportunity for Unilever to employ these individuals. So you could obviously have them, you'd be the eyes on the ground there. The benefits are kind of really there. I'm not going to go through them one by one, but you can see them there. The other one is obviously kind of a personal mentor, so what I mentioned earlier. So you can obviously work with an individual student to kind of professionally develop them and give them that kind of mentoring experience, and for you to become a mentor. So it could be ranging from giving them feedback on kind of the stuff they're doing as an integral member of the team. It could be actually how do you manage your time effectively. It could be managing priorities. You can give feedback to students on their individual kind of development. So could you say actually, if while you're having conversation with a student, they may say, actually, I want to work in this field, and then you could say, actually, why don't you do this and that? So really, the relationship is very much flexible to what you want it to be. And we've seen some really great personal mentor relationships, and the students are always looking for personal mentors. So if that's something you want to do, obviously let me know or let Jake know, and we'll obviously make that happen. So this is kind of a very simple graphic about the kind of 3 different roles that you can obviously be as a business advisor. So as I said, the general team mentor really works on that kind of sustainability element. So again, recruitment, finance, training, all that kind of stuff. But then obviously then there is the kind of project specific mentor. So you work with an Enactus University and you work on a particular project to really give them that development and potentially accelerate that project to become obviously an established project or a project that's making real good tangible impact. And then there's that mentor element. So I've just kind of collated a list at the moment that of the teams that kind of would really like some support at the moment, that we've obviously reached out and said actually it would be great if we have some Unilever specific or general team mentors. So obviously this will be shared with you after the presentation and after this, so you can obviously have a look at that, and if there is any particular universities on that list that you want to work with, please let me know. Really the business advisor role, you aren't necessarily telling them what to do. You aren't just saying you should do this, you should do that. This is I class the business advisor role as obviously being a mentor to that team, or just being someone that obviously listens to what the projects are doing right now and just really giving that real good tangible feedback. And students love the feedback. Without it, they wouldn't know if their projects are either not maybe hitting the impact that they want to, or they might not have thought of things that you might think of. Obviously working in industry, you'll have a really great experience and knowledge and know-how of stuff that maybe doesn't work and what does work. These are university students, they may not have had this experience that you've had, so that kind of really is important. And there's different areas that you can support with. So it could be training, so like project management training, marketing, working with individuals, retention, all that kind of stuff. I won't go through this, but what we've said to our Enactus teams is that for every kind of business advisor that they have in their portfolio, is that they should obviously make a profile for this individual. So actually, for teams that obviously move on and students to move on, for a business advisor to have a kind of lasting relationship with the team for maybe years to come, this is obviously a really good thing for the team to hand over to the next committee. So obviously you'll have kind of like your own personal profile, and obviously they can re-engage with you on that sense. So obviously that relationship won't just be 1 year, hopefully it'll be multiple years. So there's one thing I just wanted to obviously make you aware of, is that for every kind of team, they'll have this role, a student in their team called a corporate relations executive. So this individual is the kind of student that liaises with all the partners and business advisors they have on their board. So every team has a business advisory board, so a group of business advisors, so it could range from 5 advisors all the way to 30 advisors. Every team's different, every team has a different board, and the corporate relations executive is that person that you would directly work with or maybe have an initial introduction to kind of really know what's going on in the team and really match you where you can really add value. The corporate relations executive also runs these termly meetings called advisory board meetings, so where they bring all the business advisors in their network to their university for an evening where they go through their projects, their current updates, and it's really a forum for every business advisor to give some great feedback to the team and obviously have that face-to-face contact. So they run these kind of meetings normally termly, so they may have 2 to 3 a year. So coming into kind of more like the new year and February, they might run an advisory board meeting that university to obviously get feedback on their presentation for national competition or regionals, or just some really advice on how to take their projects to the next level so their impact's as high as it is to competition. So these advisory board meetings are run by the team. When you're linked to a team, the corporate relations executive will obviously organise everything. They'll make you aware of where it is, what time it is, and obviously as a business advisor we obviously recommend that you attend these, because obviously it's just a great face-to-face contact with a team. But obviously if you can't, there are ways that you can obviously be involved. So I've just mentioned about that, so that's the corporate relations executive role, so I won't talk about that in a bit more. I won't talk about that anymore. And there's kind of like throughout the different years, we have other volunteering that obviously happens throughout the as other events that you can get involved with. So every year we hold our kind of like Grantham training weekend in November every single year, which is where we bring all our teams together in a nice cold activity centre in Nottingham and give them loads of training so you can get involved with that, run training sessions, or if you just want to meet your teams generically. We also have employability fairs, so we always have one in November during our training weekend, but also during the national competition we also always have our careers fair as well. So you could obviously Unilever have a stand. We have already given you a stand during the competition in London this year, so the actual competition is being held at the Excel Centre, so you can obviously have that opportunity to maybe be on the stand or just be involved in the competition again, and the judging element as well. So that's the kind of end of the kind of webinar as such, and the content I wanted to go through. So in terms of your contact, I'll be your primary contact for any kind of issue, either it could be if you're working with a team, if you need any, if maybe the team hasn't reached out to you, or maybe you just need a bit of advice, I'm your person to go to. But also I'll be the person that if you want to work with a university, you'll kind of I'll be the one kind of firstly introducing you to that team and starting that relationship off. So for me, the next kind of stage for you as business advisor, and if you're still interested, and it'd be great if you are, is to obviously, you see me email there, drop me an email, and if there's a particular university you want to work with, I will then make the introduction to you. So really it's a case of you coming to me and asking, actually, I want to work with this university, and I'll make the relationship happen. And that business advisor relationship will then start there, and it's really then natural, and it will grow between you and the team. So that's kind of everything there. We also have our kind of Enactus UK Training Resource Centre. So this is where we actually store all of our kind of resources, and there is a business advisor specific site element of that site as well. So all of the training that we have and any kind of resources that we have, templates or anything, will be on that resource centre. So obviously, as Unilever employees, you have access to that. So you obviously use the link there, and also as a login. So for example, your Unilever specific login would be your username would be Unilever with a capital U, and the same as the password, it's Unilever with a capital U. So you can log into that resource center and look at all of us, obviously all the resources that we have at Enactus UK to give you a bit more support in your role going forward. So I believe that's everything I wanted to go through. So if there's any final questions, I'm more than happy to take them.
Andrew, I had a question.
Yeah.
This is Neha here. My question was regarding that one slide where you said you had a list of universities that needed support right now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Go back to that
And
one.
yeah. Would you be able to also kind of share what kind of projects that they're looking at? Just going back to what Phil had to say, if there was any area where we were really where we felt that we really can add value, we could probably just focus on those, universities.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, what I can do, I'll obviously get a breakdown of each project for the team, and I'll send that over to Jake to share with you, of course.
Yeah, that'll be good. Right next to these universities, if we can just tag what kind of projects that they're actually looking at, that'll be very helpful for us.
Of course. No worries.
Yeah.
Presumably some of these projects are already in flight, so as new advisors coming into the fray, there are presumably projects that are underway, already got advisors associated with them.
Yeah.
Other students that are maybe coming on board with the program at different stages in their journey.
Yeah.
So I guess that's another thing that's useful to know. If there are projects that are happening at those unis, but they've already got the support they need, it's understanding where the gaps are, and if there's something new coming into the mix, how we become aware of that.
Yeah, I think for me it would be the advice I give is that being really open and transparent in your introduction meeting with that particular university, and they'll be able to give you more insight than I will in terms of actually what are the gaps in their projects. So really that stems from the kind of just knowing a bit more about the projects and everything like that. And I completely understand where you're coming from. Like, obviously, if people have already got established projects and they've got people working on it, you don't want to replicate the advice that you give to teams, but you want to add value in that sense. So it really is based on the relationship you have with that team.
Mm-hmm. Cool.
Well, I think that's it.
Are you able to share these slides with us?
Yeah, so Jake's got a copy of the slides, so I've sent them over, so he'll be able to share that with you after.
Okay, great, thank you.
No worries.
No worries. I'll be following it up on Monday with sort of sign-up sheets and all the information, and there's a number of people that can't make it today, so we'll send the recording round as well.
So I guess one last question: how many advisors do you currently need? How many gaps are there?
Well, really, we don't really have like a set number that we actually need. The more advisors that we have, the better. Really, we have 58 teams over the UK, with very range of different boards. So really, the more we have, the merrier. It's always a better position for us to have more advisors than having a set one. So really, we encourage anyone to be a business advisor. So we don't really it's not exclusive in that sense. We're not looking just to get 25 in. We're looking for as many as possible.
Yeah. Okay. But so just to understand, is there a one-to-one relationship between advisor and project team, or is it a many advisors could be involved in one project, or?
So obviously we have different partner companies, and they obviously have the same kind of opportunities you do in terms of business volunteering. So you might have someone from our partner company working on a project, the same project that you are, but really that relationship is between you and that team. So every relationship's different, but you'll work individually with that team. The only time you'll probably come together is during these advisory board meetings, where you obviously meet face to face with all the other advisors that are working with that team.
Okay, so they might be getting input from multiple different sources.
Yeah.
Okay, you're one of a number of advisors working with a project.
It could be a project. What we see is that actually teams are really good at kind of linking mentors with particular projects where they there might be 2 or 3 on average of my understanding and my experience, but there won't be kind of too many per project, so it won't be that convoluted.
Yeah, okay, I understand. And same question, but from a personal mentoring perspective, presumably there's a bigger volume there.
Yeah, so that'll be a one-to-one. So we would pair you up with a student that hasn't got a personal mentor. So that'll be just you, and that meant you and that student.
Mm-hmm. Okay, thank you.
No worries.
Any more questions for Andy at all? No, I think that's perfect and very well timed as well, Andy.
Yeah. Is it 1 o'clock exactly? Is it?
No, you've got a couple of minutes to spare. So.
Oh, perfect. Well, I just want to say thank you so much for your time today, and I really appreciate you allowing me to obviously share about Enactus, and we obviously hope that this has interested you to become a business advisor. And any questions, just let me know after this call.
Yep, thanks very much, guys. Look out for my email early next week, and I'll be following up with a few of you as well.
And Jake, if you could share this recording with me, that'd be much appreciated.
Yeah, no worries at all.
Okay.
Cool. Thanks, everyone.
Cheers. Thanks.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.